Everybody, and welcome to the first episode of a new series on this channel, which is dedicated to making rewrites of Thomas and Friends movies. And for the first episode of my Thomas movie rewrite series, sorry, I'm going to be doing a rewrite of Hero of the Rails. Now, just for disclaimer, I do not have anything against Hero of the Rails. Hero of the Rails is it is a really good movie, and it is a perfect start to the CGI series. Although it does have a lot of flaws. The film's biggest flaw was that there was too much excessive narration from Michelangelo and Michael Brandon, and all the unnecessary narration from Michelangelo and Brandon kind of dragged down the movie's pacing a little. and most of Michelangelo and Brandon's narration of the film felt pretty pointless in the film. So another big flaw about this film is that the next three seasons that came after this movie were pretty bad, but we're not going to talk about those right now. We're here to talk about Hero of the Rails. So now let's get on to it. The changes for... Alright, so now let's get on with the rewrite. So we start off the film the same with Thomas puffing down his branch line and filling up on water at the water tower. But then, as Thomas is just casually minding his own business, whoom! Spencer flies by Thomas, and Thomas is taken aback by this. And then we get the same scene as in the original film where Spencer zooms by all the engines at high speed. Which causes the engines to get annoyed at Spencer. And there is an extra scene where Spencer speeds by Stanley, causing Stanley to accidentally crash into some trucks in his way on the line. And we also get another scene where Spencer also speeds by Rosie, which causes Rosie to be diverted onto a siding and crash into the buffers. Then we cut to Knapford, where it's the same as in the original film, but this time Donald and Douglas, Oliver, Stanley, Molly, Neville, Arthur, Murdoch, and Rosie are all at Knapford Station, alongside Thomas and the other 7 members of the steam team, and then Spencer then arrives at Knapford Station and tells the other engines that he has been brought over to the Duke and Duchess's summer house to help out for the summer. And just like in the actual film, all the engines are upset. All the engines are upset by this because they have to deal with sneaky Spencer. After the scene, we get the same scenes as in the original film, where Spencer teases the other engines, and we also get another scene where Spencer teases Bill and Ben for being small, and in the scene, and we also get another scene where Spencer teases both Molly and Neville for pulling a medium-sized goods train. Think of it as basically the scene where Spencer makes fun of James and Edward, but with Molly and Neville in the places of James and Edward instead. And then we get the scene at Tidmouth Sheds where all the engines are talking about how bad Spencer is, and how their day has been ruined thanks to Spencer. So, Then we cut to the docks as per the original film, where Spencer then arrives at the harbor, and Spencer teases Thomas and thinks that he cannot pull small loads, but all the other engines, these being Edward, Henry, Gordon, James, Percy, Toby, along with a few other engines, come to Thomas, defend Thomas, and say, just like in the original film, and they say that he is capable of pulling heavy loads. Then we cut to the scene where Thomas and Spencer are about to begin their competition, and the only difference is that Duck, Donald and Douglas, Oliver, Stanley, Molly, Neville, Arthur, Murdoch, and Rosie, as well as Billy, are all there with Thomas. And before Thomas starts the competition, all the other engines wish Thomas good luck. And then Spencer arrives at the competition, and then Edward announces the race between Thomas and Spencer, and then the same race between Thomas and Spencer happened as per the original film. But as Thomas is puffing along the line, we get to see some Spencer racing alongside Thomas, and Thomas struggling to keep up while Spencer tries to take advantage of Thomas. And then the same scene happens as per the original film, where Thomas is going up the hill, but then his brakes break, and then Thomas runs down the hill at high speeds. But in the scenes when Thomas crashes into the scene where Thomas crashes into a truck that has potatoes in it, Rosie is pulling the truck of potatoes, and some of the potatoes accidentally land on top of Rosie, and the heat of Rosie's boiler causes one of the potatoes to melt. And then in the scene where Thomas crashes it into a truck full of jelly, the jelly not only lands on Thomas, but also lands on top of Billy, who was next to the truck who was pulling the truck which had the jelly in it. And then we get the same scene as per the original film, where Thomas crashes through the forest, and then comes to a stop. And then Thomas is sitting around wondering what to do next, Thomas hears a voice coming from the bushes. Thomas decides to be brave and puff ahead, leading towards the sound. And as Thomas ventures on and on, he discovers Hero. Now here is where I add some big changes to the film. So we get the same scene where Thomas and Hero talk to each other, and Thomas mentions the narrow gauge engines, but I'm changing Hero's backstory. So for this version of Hero the Rails, for Hero's backstory, rather than Hero being the first engine on Sodor, Hero is instead the first Japanese / non-British engine on Sodor. And Hero's flashback takes place during the Second World during the 40s. But when Hero arrived on the island of Sodor, and Hero was stationed to work on the Kirk Ronan line. Since Hero was the only engine working on the Kirk Ronan line at the time, Hero thought that he was the only engine on Sodor, without having any knowledge of Thomas or any of the other engines that were currently on the island at the time. But during this time, Hero ended up becoming old, And so Hero was eventually abandoned in the forest where he resides as of the film's events. And then we get the same scene where, and then we get the same scene where Thomas promises to restore Hero to his natural glory.